Welcome everybody to another podcast. It's Ralphie here. It's Monday, 15th February 2021. It's actually lockdown in New Zealand. Lockdown. And we've got a bit of a party for you today. Well, I guess it's an online party. But we got some Canadian friends just coming hanging out. We just did a podcast on his show, which is the Blunt News on D Live. And we also have Sean as well hanging out today. So we were talking about crypto earlier. So if you like crypto talk, go check out that show on D Live. Here we go. And we have Ace of Trades, and Blunt has also joined. Hey guys, how are you?
Good. How are you?
How's it going, buddy?
Cool, I can hear you loud and clear. And before we get started, I will make sure that while you're talking, OBS is recording audio, because I've had that problem in the past.
I just dealt with that an hour ago.
Oh, really? Yeah, no, it's definitely recording audio. Got it. So what's up, guys?
Regretting that I didn't hold on to my short, because I would have done really well.
Yeah, I was just introing. The reason why I was delayed in calling you guys is just doing a bit of an intro. So I was doing a plug of a Blunt News show on D Live, which is really, I would say, it's a crypto special. Well, your shows are very crypto heavy, which is I really like that as a topic. But we're in the role because the news cycle is pretty fast at the moment. But this particular episode, I just want to talk about lockdowns in general and how you guys were dealing with it.
I'm dealing with it by trading crypto.
I see the segue you did there.
I mean, it's been a year of this COVID bullshit. Or is this is YouTube?
This is BitChute. I don't care. I've given up. I've given up with YouTube because it's sort of like, I don't know, man. It's just censoring everything.
Yeah, it becomes very uncomfortable. But yeah,
you'll be banned for even like juggling, because the juggling balls are all one color. They're not diverse enough.
Well, I've noticed the censorship in YouTube before, but I've really noticed it in the last week or so. You can't like, for example, I upload a lot of Netflix snippets because, like documentaries and things like that, kind of hear it from the horse's mouth. And I've been muting audio in the past because obviously usually it picks up the audio and then that's how it censors it. But I was really surprised that it can now censor it, like even if you've got the audio muted, it can still detect that it's like a Netflix source and it will, it will block that. But I don't even know if it's, I don't even know if they're blocking it because it's...
That's why you see these, they used to have like Simpson shows where they change the colors and like put crap in the way and like distort it and like speed it up, and like even that stuff is getting kind of iffy.
Well, I know a lot of other sort of people putting up videos and tutorials. Like in the music scene, there's that Adam Seeley guy, whatever his name is. He's a bass player, and he does a lot of tutorials. And his comment as a sort of music tutor was, how am I meant to teach people about music if I can't refer to this particular musical piece and then play the song and then you hear what he's trying to explain? And he's got that issue with YouTube at the moment. And the same thing for me is, I guess, is an educational thing in terms of what's happening around the world. I'm trying to pull extracts from documentaries because there are people out there that explain things a little bit more better than me. They're a little bit more articulate. And so I'm sort of, pulling pieces out of there, and I can't even do that. So it's like, how do you portray a message otherwise? You know what I mean? Can you hear me? Hang on a second.
Yeah.
I think is like they have their own laws, essentially. Like it's corporate law, guilty until proven in you know, like what do you call it? Like Creative Commons or like royalty free or
Yeah.
whatever. It doesn't matter. You know, like some
No, it
stranger
doesn't
can
matter.
copyright or could copyright strike or like they never deal with these things, but they'll if you have a wrong opinion, that's what their focus is.
I think the
Like
lesson everybody should have learned by now after all these years of censorship is just stop using the services that do this type of stuff.
Right.
yeah,
I mean, okay, people want to say but you're putting yourself at a handicap because you don't have the audience. What does it matter if you see the
you're not getting
direction
it.
already,
Yeah, you're not
right?
getting the audience anyway. Like I saw this
Yeah.
stuff that this is even before 2000s. Like all the anti-vax stuff was censored first. Like even before like the whole Trump and elections thing. And like they go after certain groups and then they expand that, and now the left wingies are getting censored too.
I
And
think the biggest thing for me with these platforms is they're not desirable for me.
Mm.
I don't feel comfortable going on them and having a discussion with someone because I have to kind of bite my tongue. I have to be
Well,
careful of what I say. I can't just let loose and have a conversation,
I,
right?
I,
That's all we
I,
want to do, right?
exactly. And I'm the same. I'm like really careful with my wording because I know that also they censor you in the content and the tags that you use and the header that you use in the subject. But not only that, but they censor you in the terms of they transcribe what you're saying. So they can literally zoom
Yeah.
in on the words that you're saying. And if there's particular hotspots, then it's like, boom, you can't upload that. Or you can, but it'll be partial. Get this. I uploaded a video on the current topic that I want to talk about today, which is the Covey rollout. And I can upload it to BitChute for now, but when I upload it to YouTube, it goes, this video is partially blocked in all these countries. It's like, that's all the countries in the world. It's like, that's not partially blocked, that is blocked. So like,
yeah, and they're
I'm
not
just,
even banned from these countries themselves. They're just like YouTube's like, no, we just don't want you saying it. We
yeah.
don't
No,
want you to say
you
the
guys
C
are
word.
going into your lockdown for the second time after being the poster child for the world. Look at Australia or look at New Zealand. Look at how they shut down and locked down hard
Oh,
and
and
fixed
how
the
we're
problem.
Covey free and
Yeah,
we're the
Yeah,
Garden
so
of
now
Eden.
they're going on level 3 again.
Yes,
They want to shut down communication to the world because that
right.
exposes a lot of their lies and failures for that matter.
I
Yeah.
wonder how what the cycle threshold is in New Zealand, because like one or two people testing positive. I mean, it's got to be
Yeah.
less of a threshold than Canada, where we have like 45 plus cycle threshold, which means more false positives guaranteed. Even in the States, you and Fauci was saying, oh yeah, like anything over, 25 or 30
But it's all
is
made up.
you're gonna
It's
get
all made.
false positive.
Yeah. Anything over, let's pick a
But then
number.
they're still testing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now they're finding variants. They want us to believe that they were checking for all this stuff along the way. Yeah.
Based on
It's-
these so-called mutations aren't even based on peer-reviewed papers, and they're not even scientifically designated as mutations. They're changes.
The
Like
variance for
scientifically,
me,
like
the
the
push for
term.
variance for me is all about branding because I don't want to call it the China virus. Now it's the South African variant. Now it's the UK variant. It's branding. It's like they just don't want.
That
They
sounds
don't want
like
to.
some politically correct country to
Yeah.
to
Oh, and
blame a
I love
stranger.
how they do the vaccine scarcity.
Oh
Oh, we
yes, they're
can't
doing
get
that here
enough.
too.
Oh yeah,
Mm-mm-mm.
there's not enough.
Well,
You know.
supplies last. Get yours now. Well, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a sale. It's like a
And then when they
infomercial.
finally come in,
Yeah.
everybody's lining up. Oh, did you get yours? I got in. I got right in.
Or
I
even
know Susie at
I've
the clinic,
noticed.
and she got me in.
I've noticed because they've got.
Doctors are stealing hordes for the friends.
And it's all about the photography angles too, right? Because even if there's like a queue of 10 people only and that's it, they're like, oh, everybody's lining up, but they just angle the photo in the right place to
Yeah,
make
he
it
took the
look.
picture behind the 10th guy.
Speaking of speaking of curated photos, I mean, you're closer to America than I am. What's happening with Biden? Is he out? Is he actually in the public space talking to people, or
I
what's
don't
happening?
I don't want to entertain that anymore
You
because
don't.
it's
Oh
like
no,
it,
he's in his walled garden, at
yeah.
the White House, pretending like everything's great and that people like him.
Well,
It must be a weird feeling to like be surrounded by a military that doesn't like you.
Well, he's vetting them out, eh? But I'm the same with
Yeah.
Blunt because I'm a little bit shy about talking with politicians. It's like I don't want to talk about this reality TV show unfolding because it doesn't relate to me. But then it's kind of like, oh,
Yeah.
but we have to talk about it because they're in your face. Um,
Yeah,
like
well,
for
they
example.
came, they saw, and we lost liberties, and that's the same
Yeah.
story over and over again.
Well, the first
Like,
time the first time we had a lockdown, we had the civil defense alert on our phones, and that was the first time in my 30 plus years of being alive that I've ever heard that. They've never used it for earthquakes, tsunamis, or anything, but they've used it for this. And, so the civil defense alarm, if you're not aware, if you're listening, your phone basically starts going like blasting at full force and telling you that it's locked down the next day. And that's happened twice now, the second
that
time.
must have been a
And
Commonwealth thing because I think I lost Ralphie.
no, I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
here.
got a
I'm here.
boomer connection.
I'm here. I can hear you well. There's no lag here.
Oh, there he is. There he is. What were
Yeah.
you saying?
Are you saying, well, Blunt, you're saying about like a Commonwealth thing? We get notifications in Canada too.
Yes, that's right. We got
And
those
then the UN
alarms.
or WHO, I believe, I don't know if it's WHO, WEF, one, two, they want to have like a global warning system, right? So like every region in the world, oh, there's a new mutation. They basically
Fear.
just want to, yep, that fear porn. They want to scare the shit out of people.
But even guys, even if you turn that, because I deep dived into my phone manual and I was like, oh, you can turn that feature off. Even if you turn that feature off, it still happens. Like it's in your face. But that's what I'm talking about. It's like even if you try and go, you know what, I'm not going to tune into this reality TV show. I'm just going to live my life the best as possible. But it's still in your face, eh?
It's hard to get away from it for sure.
Yeah.
And
Well, like there's the masks, right? Like it's a constant reminder that like this bullshit's still all going on, right? You wanna get your groceries, you wanna go to the store to grab a drink or a pack of smokes or whatever. It's everywhere, whether you have the radio on or not, whether you have the TV on or not, whether you have the internet, right?
So it's the same for you guys then, as what I wanted to ask you is basically the same rollout.
well,
Yeah,
we're
they're
coming
spending
off our
hundreds of
second.
millions of dollars on it too to scare people. Meanwhile, they're cutting the funding for hospitals and laying off nurses and getting them to do stupid, choreographed dances that take hours to,
Our
put
hospitals
together.
were already in distress before COVID-19.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
big
We had
secret.
hallway healthcare for decades. Like
Yeah.
I remember, like my longest wait was, I think it was around 8 hours in the emergency room.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's
So
common.
and that was like 15 years ago. Right, and that's where your tax money, like the system is designed to give you the illusion that you're paying your taxes for services, and but they give you rubber tools, and the services are absolutely mismanaged and deplorable. The conditions are bad.
I want
We've
to
had
talk
people
about
die
that
in
because
these.
it's a mistreatment of public funds. Essentially, you're paying taxes to a body of people. They're meant to look after you
Embezzlement.
in return, and then they're misspending it on all sorts of things. I mean, like I live next to a local park, for example, and there's no like the rubbish collector is so intermittent that it's just all this trash is just ruining the park and things like that. Like the actual
It's-
basics
Yeah.
that you're meant to be paying taxes for. Another thing here is they've actually privatized our water in New Zealand. So going back 15 years ago, Auckland
Wow.
Auckland water used to be free. It used to be $0 per month. But then what happened was, so we had different councils around Auckland. So you had the Waitekere Council, you had the North Shore Council, you had all different councils, because Auckland is actually quite a big territory. Like if you were to think like London, for example, we're bigger in terms of like London in terms of mass itself. But then what happened is they introduced what's called the super city, and it's centralized everything. So it's the Auckland super city. Now you had Watercare, which was this part of the super city. Oh, and then it started off really cheap. It started off $20 a month. That's how they lure you in, $20 a month. Now I'm talking to my neighbors. It's going to 50, 60, some $100 a month, and it's just like, where will it end? Because it's privatized. The same as like, for example, when I was in England, that guess what it was the rail that was privatized, and I was talking to some elderly gentleman back there, and he was like, no, that never used to be the case. And then now you've got one player who runs the rail system, and they can hike up the price to whatever they want,
Yeah.
and it's just
Yeah.
unfair.
What about water collection? What about water collection in New Zealand? Have they outlawed that yet, or
Oh, have they outlawed that in Canada?
Rainwater?
No, they haven't, but have they outlawed that there?
No, but there are regions where I've
States.
seen,
Wow.
they've begun to do that. So, that's what happens. You privatize the water, which is one of the very few things I think should be communal.
Right.
And then
but
they lobby
guess what?
government to pass these ridiculous laws that give them full control and
Well, like, how are they
stranglehold
supposed to
over you.
hack into the water treatment facilities and poison you?
But guys, it's
Like,
just they're privatizing
think,
all the
man.
they're privatizing all the
How can they
essential.
kill you easier?
Yeah, they're
What's that, Ralphie?
privatizing all the essentials, including now. Like this is the precursor to privatizing air. 'Cause and you
Yeah,
think
well, they're already
you think I'm joking, but
like they're already taxing you on your exhale, right?
well, no,
So
there
on your
are
part.
places in Asia where
Well,
you
yeah,
can
if you
where
want
you
to
can.
breathe outdoors, you have to buy a mask. you
No,
see.
not that. But if you want to breathe like clean
You have to
air
pay for
from
your air.
If you
Yeah.
want to breathe clean air from the Alps, I'm not kidding you. You can go to a vending machine, right? I'm not kidding. And you get a product, and
Yeah, no, I know about that.
I mean,
Yeah.
no, but with the whole mask thing, if it,
Bottles of fresh air.
yeah,
It's comical. Something you'd think was an episode of The Simpsons. The level of retardation that we've gotten to. People allow that.
All that fluoride they stick in the water.
There's people who, they bought their property, they pay their property tax, and then they have the wild forest encroaching on their backyard, and they're not allowed to cut down trees and
Mm.
clear their own lands, and
Not
you
allowed to
can't
prevent fires.
yeah, you
basically.
can't clear the
Control
brush,
turns,
you can't
forget
do
about
your
it.
regular. No, just
Oh, by the way, you have a at threat species in near your property, so we're
it's a
gonna have
green
to
zone.
evict you.
Which
Been
Yeah,
declared a green zone by
UN green zone.
which leads me to the conclusion: it's either one of two things. One, they're just really, really greedy, or two, they just really, really hate us. I can't make up my mind.
It's
Well,
about
they've always seen us as
control.
cattle. Like you have to, if you want to see it from their perspective, you have to
Right.
see it from a farmer's perspective and his livestock, right? And it's in the farmer's best interest to manage that livestock with the greatest profit possible, right? The greatest yield, right? Even down to crops, right? So like you're gonna pay for, if you have a horse, you're gonna pay for treatment and medical and all that so it can work. So
I think they want to
plow
get
the
beyond that,
fields.
Sean. I think they want to get beyond that system because
Well,
they've
no,
had
well,
us on that system. Now they don't need the humans anymore. You see,
Well,
they
like
don't
No.
need
yeah,
that.
that's true to an extent. Yeah, I mean, but like they basically they want to cull, right? Like even in a herd, right? Like even on a farm, you need to cull sometimes,
I know,
and
but
because it's
that
just too much to manage.
creation, they don't need us anymore. So this is going to be a mass culling. This is going to be
Well,
one of those cullings
mostly,
that come
yeah,
that
most
they
of
have
us,
very, very
90% of
few.
us, they don't need anymore. 90%,
Well,
but the 10% that they do need, that they need the absolute total control over. over those people, right?
Absolutely.
And that's where the new tech's going to come in, because it's cheaper to spend money on, you know, your star bred horse, you know, that you use for your races, right, than to waste all this money on like a gimp horse, you know, an old horse, right? What do they do to old horses, right? Glue factory, right?
I suppose
So, you know, they're
they've been doing culling for many centuries,
yeah,
I guess. Like, you know, that's
yeah.
why sign up
But
for the
humans are
war.
hard to kill.
Yeah, sign up for the war. It's so patriotic. I mean, that's what they used to plug. But now with the information age, I guess people are kind of a little bit more savvy in terms of, you know, actually war is profitable. So why should I actually give my life for that? So it's a different kind of warfare, I
Always
think.
has been profitable. It always, you know, the wars have always resulted in a great wealth transfer, usually to the oligarchs, right? Every war is a banker's war.
Well, there's a
So,
great wealth transfer
uh,
now with the trickle up
yeah,
effect, with small businesses just going under in mass
yep,
scale, and
by
this,
design. Yeah.
I mean, you know, you hear of stories of, oh well, you can't shop at that local butcher, but you can go to that, you know, you can go to
Go
that
to
Yeah.
Walmart.
Walmart, you know,
Yeah.
right? It's the trickle up. I mean, it's beneficial, I guess, for some.
Yeah,
I,
for the people that see us as, you know, the bottom useless eaters, right?
when
So,
does the public finally just say enough?
That's what I
Because
mean. It's hard to
it,
actually get it out there because of censorship. That's the problem.
yeah,
Is you have the
and
two.
they have
it's
to feel
getting,
it.
They have to feel it.
They
Yeah,
yeah,
have to feel it.
that's the only way.
and well, you know, one of my predictions on Mike's show was like censorship like you wouldn't believe, and that includes getting arrested for an opinion.
Oh, you
Right?
heard of
Getting
that? You
arrested
heard of
for a
that
BT.
Australian? You heard of that Australian woman that got visited while she was
There's a
uh.
few.
There's been a few cases. You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
No, but
happening.
this one was recent, where it was for literally an opinion. It was an online post
Yeah,
on Twitter, wasn't it?
yeah.
Hateful
What was
And
that
post.
post?
that's why I don't tweet, and that's why I don't post on Fubu. Because yeah, it could it could lead me to jail. Not even kidding.
Yeah, but it's okay if you know, if you're a pedophile and you're on Twitter, that's cool. Doesn't violate the terms according to Twitter.
Oh
But
yeah,
if you have a wrong opinion, uh-oh.
pornography is rampant on Twitter.
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
that's not censored.
you know, I think it was like was it like 85 or something percent, like 80 to 90% of the you know, child uh exploitation cases are on Facebook. Like you got, we're talking like, you know, 14 million people, 14 million kids, and they don't seem to do anything about that. You know, I wonder why.
I think
Um,
I want to come up with solutions because I know that in the digital realm, obviously we're high on censorship. So I'm almost tempted to just like wear T-shirts with like thought-provoking comments on it and just walk around like saying, "Ask me about the New World Order," or something. Just walk around with a T-shirt.
It may get as bad as where that won't be allowed because you may
it'll be
be.
considered protesting, you know,
Yeah,
and then you're
social
not. It doesn't say
distance from
BLM
yourself.
on it, so
Are you social distancing from yourself? You know,
yeah,
like
it's. I mean, like the solutions. I mean, like good. Like the Corbett report, you know, he's focusing more. James Corbett's focusing more on solutions. You know, like Mike Martin's had Alaska Prepper on, which I thought was one of the, you know, was actually very
I've started
practical.
prepping on
You know,
water. I've started prepping on clean water. Yeah, that's I've
yeah, like I think, you know, where I am in BC, where, you know, we got a lot of water, like fresh water.
Yeah, there's
So
loads of water here in
yeah,
Ontario as well.
yeah. So my focus is like basically the deep pantry, the storable food, the means of protecting that food.
There's
You know what I mean?
there's a
And
really cool YouTuber that self sufficient me, and he actually talks about like, you know, how do you grow your gardens and things like that. But one of his comments was, you know, you don't have to be self sufficient on everything, but be self sufficient on one or two things. Because I think
yeah,
that's a good focus. Because even if you're like you say, you're focused on one or two things to be prepped for, your neighbor might do one or two things as well, or whatever. And you know, as you don't have to be self-sufficient in everything.
yeah, you need a community and you need a community of people that have a skilled trade, like they're like a blacksmith even.
Well, there are some
Blacksmith
there are
or
some towns now.
farmers.
There are some towns now, but their infrastructure is so broken that because their governments are not helping, exactly that, they're just helping each other out as villagers, and they're actually fixing their own problems.
Yeah.
That's actually happening around the world. Yeah.
Yeah, if you live in the Appalachians, you probably could be pretty self-sufficient because you've been screwed since manufacturing, since free trade came into being. Because free trade drove all the manufacturing and industrial jobs over to China at the expense of Americans, Canadians, and the like.
Hmm.
So like you can't. You got one lifetime. You got so many years. You can't do it all. You can't be a jack of all trades and get it all.
Uh,
Like you need a community.
that's my
Like
prob.
unless you know how to blacksmith.
That's my problem, and that's actually been my tactic right from the start of this whole thing, which was like what, March 2020 now. Can't believe it's been that long. That's been my pet tactic from then to now, is being kind of passive aggressive about the news and what's coming up. I've just been like, yeah, not into it, change the channel. But now I'm up to the point where I'm like, actually, I'm in the trenches now. I can't, there's explosions happening around me, and I just cannot ignore it now because, like, for example, Pfizer's just come in to the country, possibly a mandatory vaxes by the end of next week, which means
Jesus.
you can't get your pay, can't collect your pay if you don't log into the app, if you don't get that. We're in the trenches. This is the problem with me in New Zealand now. Is like I can't even ignore it anymore.
This has to
Yeah.
be. This is going to be a line for
Well,
a lot of people. I'd
that's
like
what
to
people
imagine.
people have been doing that for decades. They've been ignoring shit because we've been trained. This is a form of propaganda. You ever run into people and you try to be real with them and they're like, "Oh, you're just being negative. You're harshing my mellow. I can't deal with the negativity." Like, yeah, I mean, ignorance is bliss in for temporary. Like it's temporarily it's bliss. But, like if you go to the doctor and you say, "Oh, I don't want to hear bad news," and your doctor needs to tell you that you have cancer, yeah, you might be fine for a couple, 2, 3 months. But in the long term, you're absolutely screwed. Why? Because you didn't want to hear that bad news, even though, you could have done something about it,
But I think
uh,
there is definitely an element of
with the knowledge, right?
there is definitely an element of truth in what Blunt was saying before. Is people need to feel pain before they actually
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They
realize
need
that
that boot.
they realize that that gas knob is just being turned on right now. You know what I mean? They need to they need to see and feel the
Yeah,
pain. But that's
They
coming,
do,
right?
and yeah, and that's why I'm
I
I'm
think so. With the mandatory vaccinations, I think that's going to be a major one.
Right.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's tricky because like a lot of people, despite even knowing, like say you knew that thing was gonna kill you, you know that second dose is gonna put you away in the ground. Well, like you're so dependent on the government by this point, like small businesses, they have to take out loans. Government says, "Hey, we're here to help. We'll give you alone and we'll help," like we
There's
have like
nothing.
record
No,
re- record people lining up for commissary, or also known as food banks, right? They're getting more and more dependent on the handouts, and like it gets to the point where you're so dependent. I think that's why a lot of people are caught. They're caught in a rock and a hard place because it's like, well, I I know this is not good what's going on, but at the same time, like I need a job because I need to feed my
Well,
kids,
yeah,
oh my
and
goodness.
a lot of people are thinking
I'd rather
short
flee into
term.
the woods,
yeah,
for
me
goodness
too. I
sake.
rather flee as
Yeah,
well
I'm
because
starting
Like
to.
there's these people that want to jab you with some chemicals so they can profit, and they don't care about you, and you're just scum and filth to them, just a means of
and
no,
they and
thank
they
you. I'll
respect
just take the back door. Thank you very much.
and they
You know what I
respect.
mean?
Not that we do, we should give a shit about whether they respect you or not, but they do think even less of you if you do comply.
So where
They
are we?
do.
Where are you guys at in Canada at the moment? So are you in complete lockdown? Are stores open? What's happening?
Where our provinces vary. So where I'm at, we're
Red,
opening up
right?
Tuesday.
But
Tuesday.
you're still red and you're opening up, right? Is that how
Yes.
it's going on? Yeah.
Gray
Still
gray
red.
is the bad one, I think.
Yeah.
I don't. Out of the
Uh,
color schemes, I know that gray is the worst one. It's all very confusing. Sometimes they're talking cases, sometimes they're talking colors.
it's all based on
So
cases. They're red in Ontario. It's red based on cases only. None of the deaths don't correlate. Nothing correlates except for the cases.
we
Hey,
have some municipalities that are gray, which is apparently is the worst one, and then we have the other ones that's red that are opening up on Tuesday, and we're all like near each other. You drive through different colors. Doesn't matter. It doesn't like makes no sense. There's people's
Yeah.
lives being destroyed.
oh, absolutely
Montreal has
destroyed.
it.
Politicians.
There have been
Yeah,
this year alone. There's been so many divorces. There's unfortunately been suicides. Like this is people that I know.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like this is
And how many
hard
people
stuff.
do you know that died of COVID?
No, a zero, but I know two people that have died
Yeah.
from suicides.
Yeah, exactly. Is it? Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
but then,
know
you
two
know,
people from
and
divorce.
yeah.
And
This
what
is
about, businesses and livelihoods ruined, homes lost?
Yeah.
There's all sorts of secondhand damage to this
well, I'm
government
driving down the
overreach.
road. I'm
And
driving down the road, and there are little kids playing outside a motel. I mean, obviously they've been kicked out or something. I mean, you don't have kids hanging around a motel normally, especially with at the moment right now when there's no tourism and everything's locked down. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like these. It's like the hidden cost because you can't see what's happening at your neighbor's door next door. You can't, you know what I mean? But you see little tricklets and you see little tips, of what's happening. You see more
well,
homeless
you
people.
look at the vehicles. Look at the
But
vehicles.
but no, no,
Oh,
no.
yeah,
Don't
I've seen.
believe your lying eyes.
I live next to a park. I
There's
live next to
most
a
people who are losing their homes are moving into their
Yep,
vehicles.
and I live next to a
Yes.
park, and I see a lot of people just living in their vehicles. Yep.
Yeah, or like you're gonna see tent cities. It's gonna turn into LA. Where you have just as many tents as cars, and they're gonna get rid of the cars too. So where are you gonna live in after they, get rid of gas, motor
Which
vehicles, and you
which
can't
goes
afford
back
a EV?
which goes back to my comment. They either really hate us or what? I just can't comprehend.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
they do.
irrelevant.
They're afraid of us. That's the thing. There's too many of us, and they're absolutely afraid because
Well, we had a call to action here in Ontario. Somebody in the Niagara St. Catharines region, I guess they were calling for the medical head of that area, for someone to attack them and to for heads to roll. And then our premier came out, Doug Ford, and you know trying to
Guys,
say, this is not right, people.
this
This
is
is
why
Ontario
this is
or
why
Ontario.
yeah.
this is why
And they had a
censorship.
mayor or something is saying, "Don't screw this up." It's up to the public not to screw this up, guys. It's like, you
Yeah,
fucking psychopath. You
yeah.
piece of shit narcissist human. You're not even a human being at that point. These people, I think there's this airline, I don't know if Gates bought it, but like there's an
Oh,
airline where like you don't even have to, it's a private jet like airliner that you don't have to take a test or wear a mask
Oh
or any
yeah,
of
of
that,
course, just roll
right? For
right
the
in.
rich
of
people.
course, of
See
course.
these $100 bills? That's my
It's not
entry.
it's not the government making the rules. It's the travel
We're
agencies and the
essential though, but
airlines.
they're essential business people.
But
You gotta
guys, on
understand,
that
they're
topic,
Yeah.
essential. They're more important.
I did before turning the show on. I did want to talk about a topic and get your guys' opinion on it. So I'm going to show this on my screen now. So here we go. Let me know what you think about this, okay? So the Green Party, which is a sort of minority party in New Zealand, has attacked the cash-strapped Air New Zealand for daring to make a few bucks in these CCP virus-affected economic times. The Green Party has criticised Air New Zealand following revelations it has been helping the Saudi Arabian military despite the Middle Eastern nation's role in the humanitarian crisis in Yemen. Your thoughts?
Is this the party that's
Good
in
luck,
leadership?
Greens. Good
Yeah.
luck.
What's
But no,
going on?
they've been caught. So basically, they've been caught giving these guys like gas turbines, which is specializes and services like military and marine engines and turbines. and to support the Saudi Navy. But it got me thinking. If everyone's locked down, I mean, that's just a convenient way to move all this sort of military might around in terms of hardware, right? If no one's watching. I don't know. I just wanted
Do
your
you guys
thoughts on it.
normally export military hardware?
Oh, definitely
Is
not.
that your no? Canada, we're a big
Oh,
producer
right.
here. Yes, we make lots of military equipment here that goes south
But
to
does
the
a public
States.
airline transport the parts for you? You know what I mean? This is what's happening in New Zealand.
Yeah, they go on the train. I've seen them on the
Oh,
highway. I don't know if the transport trucks on the highways are military or if they're just contracted, but there's been times I've been on the highway and I've seen a convoy of military. The weirdest thing I saw was these vehicles that were just like cubes. They look like
wow.
mobile
NPCs or
checkpoint
something.
boxes. You know what I mean? Like
When
you
did you
can
see
put them
that?
up on the side of the road. This was already. It would have been years by
Right.
now, so it's not going to be related to COVID.
No.
But you know, there's we
Well,
produce a lot here in Canada.
well, we've got sort of like the America's Cup happening in New Zealand now, and we had the Prada Cup as well. Because Auckland is known as the city of sails. We love our sailing. We love boats, right? So this is happening, and I'm watching this race in the viaduct, and in the corner of my eyes, I'm like, that's a navy boat with lots of guns on it. What's that doing there? It's like right in your face. It's not normally there.
That's where your tax dollars are really going instead of the healthcare system.
But
You know,
this is
it's going to
it's worrying. It's worrying.
fuel the war efforts.
We've also got military outside our hotels. I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah.
It's the
Well,
slow
yeah,
buildup.
and I was like, on my show, I was like saying like you don't deploy the military on your own population. Like you're not gonna get your freedoms back. All the freedoms that are taken away from you, you have to take them. You have to take them, and because government never gives up any freedoms it takes away willingly. They fight tooth and nail. I mean, these people, these oligarchs, are willing to blow up the planet before letting us win. Like that's the stakes of this game. Like we are the enemy. It's wartime measures, rationing. You have all this talk about war, right? Invisible enemy. And like we are the enemy. It's a war of terror, not on, but on us. Governments around the world, your tax dollars go toward governments funding terrorist groups to terrorize you,
Okay.
right?
Well,
Like
I've got a
ISIS.
solution then. Don't pay tax. Invest in crypto.
Yeah. Well, like everybody has to do it, right? And that's the problem. People are like, oh, well, I'm gonna get in trouble, blah blah blah. Well, do you not see where the road is going? Like you're in big shit anyway.
They're
You're
gonna
just
have to feel it.
you're feeding the beast. You're
But yeah,
feeding the
they're gonna have
beast.
to. Yeah.
That's
So
that's oppressing you.
I think the question is, at what point will people feel it? Will it
Well, like
be
it's
when they get the ultimatums of either food or no
well,
food
study
if you don't get the
cults,
jab?
study cults, because that's what's going on right now, and a lot of people are get abused in cults too, even to the point where their lives are taken away from them, and right up to the end they go along with it, right? You have the masses that they'll walk straight up, they'll stand in front of the firing wall, still thinking like that, oh, these people have my best interests. Like that's how mind fucked everybody is. Like this MK Ultra stuff, like all these cults in the States and stuff that you've heard about in the past, like Jim Jones or Helter Skelter with Manson. The CIA and the
Mm.
intelligence agencies have invested in these cults, and with the intention of exporting the techniques used on the masses, right? And they do this with a lot of things. They do trial balloons, right? Universal basic income, right? We've heard that murmured in the past, and it just became more and more in your purview. And now like they're ready to export that. They're ready to export that to the rest of the world after doing all these trials, all these sort of micro experiments on communities or individuals. So like the
Yeah.
MK Ultra shit never stopped. It never
I
stopped,
think there's
and
gonna
now
be
it's being applied to all of us.
there's got to be an element now for the public. It's an element of spycraft. I've been watching spycraft documentary on Netflix. What I mean by element of spycraft, it's like we can't communicate over the internet now because everything's like censored and that. So we're gonna have to like do dead drops and stuff at the park. You're gonna have to like
Yeah, yeah. I've been
send
Flyers.
saying
encrypted.
for a while now, like get your leaflets ready.
Yes.
Get a paper and printer, because that's gonna be the only way you'll be able to get any sort of word out at some point. Because
Yeah.
look at the Chinese internet. It's constantly monitored, and you're constantly monitored for your credit score. Your credit
Speaking
score is
speaking of monitored,
what you say online. What games?
I touched on that now, with Pfizer, which is the Bill Gates vax coming into New Zealand, and also in the workplace, you have to mandatory install Microsoft Teams. And what sort of things do you have to accept to get your smartphone or computer working? You have to accept the GPS location, you have the audio, the video, your contacts list, everything. When you go to meeting rooms now in offices, everything is recorded through what? Microsoft Teams software. There's video recording you in those meeting rooms. Everything is being recorded.
Big Brother's watching
Right.
for real this time.
And I think there's going to be there's an element at the moment of sifting who goes to the gas chambers and who doesn't, right? There's an element in that. Who's essential, who's not, right?
Well, and there's the psyops to help that out too. You got the QAnon stuff, right? Which is basically honeypot to basically flesh out the patriots, and these people, most of these people, they had legitimate concerns, like whether you hate Trump or not, or you like him or not. These people that protested at the Capitol, they had legitimate concerns.
Yeah.
Of course, like they edited. Of course, they do this all. You would do this all the time with Trump. They'd edit what he said and said, oh, he was inciting violence, but he was saying like peacefully, but then they edited that part out. So it is more more ammunition for the crazy leftards. And you have like the Antifa and these lefties were threatening to burn down the Capitol and actually do insurrection. I mean, what do you call it? What they've been doing for the last year or 2 years, or even 2016, they've been doing insurrection stuff. I mean, what, 47 people died as a result of these BLM and Antifa, so-called protests, billions of dollars worth of damages. That's not an insurrection, but LARPing at the Capitol and being polite to the police and
Mm.
an officer, like, oh, we got hit by a fire hydrant, and then it turns out that he had a heart attack like 2 days later or whatever. He had cardiac arrest, and it was like a Trump supporter that died at the DC Capitol. With the person that shot her in the neck isn't gonna face charges. We know who is that person. They're not telling us anything. So it was a trap. It was a trap for QAnon, or not QAnon, but like just Trump supporters in general, MAGA. It was a trap. Well, come into my sanctum, said the spider to the fly. Like that's basically what it is.
It
So I
was
mean,
the pretext that they needed.
yeah, yeah, and that's and unfortunately, you got a lot of LARPing, dim-witted people fell for it. They showed up and they went in, and then now AOC is afraid for her life, even though she wasn't even there. Like these and these biggest cowards of all. Like this goes to show what kind of cowards these are. Politicians aren't at the top of the hierarchy, but they're at the point where you can sort of realize the character of the people at the top, because the people at the very very top, we don't know who they are.
I know
Because
who
they're the
they are.
biggest cowardly
I
people
know
of
who they
all.
are. I've seen these people. Actually, I'm doing a screenshot of a blog I did in 2013. Are you ready to have your mind blown in 3 paragraphs? Okay. This is from Chicken Shed charity that I did in 17th October 2013. Here it is. I was waitering at an event in Guildford last night, Chicken Shed Charity, who raised around £400,000 for the cause of changing young lives through theatre. I think the cause was good. Around 140 kids of varied ages and races sung and danced for mostly banker-type individuals. But it etched in my mind the almost hidden ritual and messages behind one scene that had a monologue which said, "To prepare a nation for war, you must first instill in everyday life hatred, anger, fear, racism, and divide." Also, one of the auction lots was for an 18-year-old who spent a day with 3 finance directors, including the head of Goldman Sachs, to learn the tricks of the trade, and a government spying agency so secret they didn't have a website. What's that about, I wonder? This item sold for £5,000. I've seen these people. What do you think? What do you think of that blog? Because like it's almost like surreal now in 2021
Yeah,
reading
but
this.
It's not surprising.
Yeah, no, it's not. But it's names. That's the thing. It's the name. It's names, because like these frontmen like Bill Gates and all that. Like these aren't the people that I'm curious about, because I really really want to know who is pulling the strings at the very very top, who's on the top of the pyramid, and they're they have to be the most cowardly people, because they're so afraid of being exposed, right? And exposing
So
them,
they should be.
they lose a lot of power if you expose them, right? So yeah, they should be, right? But like going to the Capitol, it's like, well, like these people are these senators and politicians are crying about how their lives were endangered, and yet how many would they killed, like what, 500,000 Afghani children in the Middle East. Like how many bombs have they dropped, how many families have they blown up, innocent people, and
Yeah,
we're
we're
supposed to
supposed to believe they
sympathize.
they care they worry about a virus. That's what we're supposed to believe after what they're doing around the world. Come
Yeah,
on.
yeah, and I heard this on like Ryan Dawson. He said something like uh, he quoted some other person. I can't remember the name, but he said like, finish this sentence. Politicians are. So like fill in the blank. We like let's start with you, Ralphie. What do we say? Finish the sentence. Politicians are blank.
Front men, front people. And I'm doing a screenshot now because I've got a trove of blogs that during this waitering agency, it just seems so relevant now. So politicians, let's talk about Bill
Wait,
Clinton.
hold on.
Wait, let's talk about Bill Clinton, for example, because I've seen him, right? I've seen him.
Prostitutes. That's
Yeah,
what
I
I was
don't want
gonna
to
say.
digress too much, because I just wanted to get it like blunt. Politicians are
Prostitutes.
Yeah.
right. Like I would say politicians are garbage, or you notice that everybody, like you should ask people this fill in the blank thing, because you'll notice that almost everybody is going to say something negative, right? So why do we need them,
Well,
right?
let
Like
me.
why do we need politicians if everybody doesn't like them and they're pieces of shit and they're garbage and they're always why do we need them? Why do we need more of them? Why do we need this system? Because this system has clearly failed. This system is irrecoverable, right? The best thing that can be done in the States right now is for all the for Florida and Texas to secede, because it's not 1776 anymore. It's not going to be bloodshed, in that at least in that scenario. So like, but everything else is DC is irrecoverable. Our system in Canada, it's done. So
Get this,
there has to
Sean.
be something else. I think we should have a reset, but not the type of reset that Schwab advocates.
This
for,
fully
obviously.
backs up your point. This is a blog entry from 12th October 2013. I'm only reading these not to like name drop or anything, but I just want to get your opinion
No,
on
it's
it.
good.
And also some insight for you, because you're like, who are these people? Okay, so anyway, so I managed to serve Bill and Hillary Clinton, they were doing a fundraiser, and this was posted on 12th October 2013. So it's a really long blog, so if you want to check it out, just do it. But so here we go. Clinton mentioned in his speech, Clinton mentioned in his speech, this is Bill Clinton, and I heard this with my own ears, guys. When I was president, my opinions didn't matter as I had no leverage. He was talking about bankers and advisors in the White House and how they could basically call the shots. So now the Clintons have set up a company to help poor people in Africa afford cheaper and faster medical drugs. He opens with, I believe intelligence is spread equally in the world, but not opportunity. He explains an agenda was to reduce population as there is a purple elephant topic in the room and that there are too many people in the world. I'm not even making this up. So contraception back then was, in 2013, was another agenda. Also in his speech was about McDonald's and that in America, 40% of people eat it regularly, and he had talks with them to stop their advertising to kids by January 2014. Oh, what a good guy. And have more healthy options in the menu. Anyways, it goes on for ages of what I heard, but you saw it
they're
right
all
there.
eugenicists, and
Too many people in the world.
Yeah, they all believe this. They all believe because they have that Malthusian influence about them, because like they literally see us as cattle, as cattle, and you have Hillary. She called black people super predators. I think David Byrd is his name, or Robert Byrd. Who's like the one of the head of KKK chapters. She idolized him. Like these are really lousy people. Like, but the politicians, I know that they are not the ones in charge. They are definitely. They're just again. I always say this, but they're just people you throw tomatoes at, and you're supposed to throw tomatoes at them. They're there to do that too.
They're
They're the front.
they're the
Like you
frontline
said, they're
bodies.
frontmen.
They're the
Yeah,
frontline bodies, so
yeah.
that when the masses come up
They
with
take the hit.
pitchforks, yep, that's it.
Yeah, they take the hit, and so like that's why I don't want to put focus on my focus isn't so much on the politicians. It's on the people above them, even above the bankers that we know. Above them there's also a tier, but it's just what interests me is who they are and what their rituals are and their practices and the knowledge. This gets me actually the most is the knowledge throughout history that they have revised and denied to the masses. They've locked away sacred knowledge from everybody else, and they so like
Yeah.
people like Carl Quigley. He was he had access to all the United States archives for quite a long time, and he was he was famous for saying, well, he said a lot of things, but he said, if there was to be like a fascist or tyrannical dictatorship, the best one would be a science-based one, like a scientism type technocratic one. So like he's got this book called Tragedy and Hope, and
I'm gonna write it down.
within that book there's a lot of revealing stuff. Yeah, Tragedy and Hope by Carl Quigley. And then there's Albert Pike as well, another big influence.
See, going back to that comment I said, right? He said it, Bill Clinton. I believe intelligence is spread equally in the world, but not opportunity. That reminds me, like, I hear of stories of, like, the Vatican, for example, where there are books so old that, only the Vatican people know about it, right? So it's like knowledge is power. The plebs are not going to read what's in those books. They're closed off, right? So
yeah, it's exactly like the Bible being denied to the masses for so long because it was written in Latin, which allowed the clergy to interpret it and be that median between the masses and the book. But like the old, very ancient ideas. I mean, like the Pope is the Catholic Church has long been compromised by communists and the like. Not just the Catholic Church, but also Islamic Islamic sects and imams and stuff have been compromised long ago, long ago. I mean, McCarthy was right, like, and he lost that battle. Like we have lost. Um, free thinkers, freedom loving people have lost. We've lost the battle. The battle was lost after the Second World War because communism won. The capitalism, like as in free market capitalism, and National Socialism lost, but communism won, right? And even still, Germany became National Socialist anyway after the Second World War. So what about that? And it's been a decline in the U.S. Ever since. But Israel needs the U.S. to finish the PNAC group's agenda, which is take out Libya, take out Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria. I think Iran's on the list too, right? They're using the U.S. is being used as a machine to take over, to dominate the Middle East on Israel's behalf. Not necessarily Israel, the people, not the people of Israel, but the Zionists, the supremacists, the people who don't even have the best interests of, like it's not a racial thing. Like it's not about like, oh, the Jews.
No, they don't even care about their own people.
They don't even care. They'll use that, and they'll it's like they did the British Empire did this to the British against the Irish as well. They made the lower and middle class. There wasn't really much of a middle class in the colonial days of the British Empire, but they would instill them with a sense of supremacy, a sense of cultural and racial supremacy against other demographics. So they would go into Ireland with this ego and take all their food for the military, the British military, starve them to death, march them out into starvation, killing. They committed genocide on the Irish. And so they instill these cultures with a sense of supremacy against other cultures, but then they'll backstab you too. And the same thing is kind of going on in the States with the black population, where they're saying like, oh, the white guy is the white man's evil. You need reparations, you need help. Where the government should help you, and that infantilizes like the MTV and stuff definitely was a contributor to like meshing the rap and gangster life and all this sort of zeitgeist into the black culture.
3 minutes,
So
guys. By the way, just sorry. 3 minutes to go.
Okay, so
Wrapping up.
I'll wrap up. So like in the sense of in the sense of everybody equal intelligence spread over. Well, in the 1940s, 50s, right up to 1960, the black family in the States was on equal par in terms of income, and so was the two-parent households. You had 86% two-parent households for blacks, and now you have it's flipped. You have like 86% single parents, right? So they've infantilized the culture and made it dependent. When it previously, if you look at Thomas Sowell's work, he shows.
Okay, guys. I would love to carry on further, but I'll tell you what, though, you guys, you both completely expanding my mind each time I talk to you. If I ever get the keys to the Vatican Library, you will be the first two to know. So thank you very much to Sean, Ace of Trades, for joining me here today. Blunt News as well. I'm just going to do a quick plug on the screen here. So go check him out. There's if you go to ralphie.co.nz, upcoming live streams there, you will see a link to Blunt News on D Live. And gentlemen, thank you so much. This hour is completely flown. We've got 1 minute left. Any closing statements from either or?
Just thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me, man.
Yeah,
Let's do
awesome.
this again.
Next time I have the keys to the Vatican Library, you're the first to. And that is it, really. This is knowledge. Knowledge is power, and we are doing it. Even in the age of censorship, we are finding ways.
I know how to do it. I know how to get the keys. I know
You
how to
got
get
it?
the keys.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll identify as a transgender, attack helicopter, and I'll wear a BLM shirt and dress in red and black, and they will give me a tour.
Don't forget the rainbow flag around the neck.
That is true. Okay, well, that's it. That's
Thanks a
closing
lot,
statement.
Ralphie.
That's the quick hour of the show. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Stay tuned, stay enlightened, and stay cool.